Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today, folks. We have a whole lot of stuff to talk about, but of course, if it goes like it's been going the last few days, you are in charge, and if you take the message a certain place, that's where we will go. Welcome aboard, Bruce Pollard. Welcome aboard, AVQ, Michael Rudnin, and Nanette Bird Smith. Welcome aboard. Let's see who else I've got here. Paravet. All of you that are in the room, lots of you are here already. Come on and join in the crowd. Whether you are on YouTube, whether you're on Twitch, whether you are on Facebook, whether you are on, well, I can't read the Twitter stream with this application, but I can read Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and aggregate them all. So come on and say your highs so I can call you out and say, hey, guess who's here today? We're going to have a great show for you today. I'm trying to go ahead and close down a window on the third computer. Getting back to computer numero uno. Okay. Rudnin, are you going to kill me? Rudnin, what are you doing? Let's get busy then. Deadly Bronx fire puts focus on space heaters some see as symbols of inequity. Do you really have to ask if that's a symbol of inequity? Well, I wonder why we have that occurring, folks. All right, let's see what else we got here. The building was the subject of several complaints from tenants, including lack of heat. Wealthy homes don't have to deal with the lack of heating in the winter. Gotta say, I had one and it broke recently. I know I'm not wealthy, but until just now, never thought of space heater in the way. Secondly, a towering asteroid more than twice as massive as the Empire State Building will zip past the Earth next week. Here's how to spot it. This one's great read for any space watchers out there. Bruce Pollard, he's one of the leaders in astronomy here in Northeast, or in the Northeast area of our county. He has a group, in fact, so that should turn you on. Bruce, tell me a little bit about it. Did you know about that asteroid that was about to come in close contact with the Earth? Numero tres, judge allows Federal Trade Commission latest suit against Facebook to move forward. The Federal Trade Commission antitrust lawsuit against Facebook can proceed. A federal judge rules on Tuesday, delivering a major win for the agency after its first attempt at targeting the company allegedly monopoly power was dismissed for lack of evidence at the time. However, this time, the judge found that federal regulators have offered enough proof to argue that Facebook's acquisition strategy, particularly its takeover of Instagram and WhatsApp, is driven by a buy or bury ethos, which we know it always has been. That Facebook allegedly gobbles up competitors in order to maintain an illegal monopoly. Breaking up big tech monopolies will ensure competition and innovation in the market. The world needs better than that. Look, that is what I try to explain when we talk about capitalism versus free enterprise. What Facebook is doing is what it has to do, based on what Milton Friedman says. The owners of Facebook, the executive of Facebook, their mission is to maximize the profits of their shareholders. That could also mean shutting down WhatsApp. That would also mean shutting down Instagram or incorporating them, taking it over, and ensuring there's no competition. That is what it does. We have to be honest with ourselves. And when you say, well, we can pass antitrust laws and all of that, as soon as you pass antitrust laws and all these things that you say are there to moderate capitalism, it is no longer capitalism. It morphs itself into free enterprise. That is what I've been trying to talk to people. Capitalism as a model is a dog-catching failure. But you have to be honest with yourselves. And what we've had a lot of people scared to say is like, Well, if you look at the tenets of capitalism and how it works and what it does exactly as it's supposed to do. It is supposed to create inequality because it says, I will take it all and I will keep growing for the few that own me. That is the tenets of it. Read the definition. But we want to read the definition and not believe what we're hearing, right? Okay, other term. Biden under fire for resistant calls to distribute N95 masks to all. As the Biden administration dithers, Senator Bernie Sanders said plans to introduce legislation that would ensure N95s are sent to every household in the country. COVID is airborne and masks to prevent it. If everyone wore a mask while outside, this pandemic would have been over and done with a couple of months. I agree, if often one, but I don't know. I am not sure if just sending masks directly to each address or something is the way to go, right? I am not, look, it's above my pay grade, but I'm more thinking masks should be available to everybody for free. Nobody should not wear masks because they can't afford it. But I don't think just shipping it willy-nilly to every address is the answer. I haven't read Bernie Sanders' bill, so I don't know what he has in there to make sure that what he does is not throwing our taxpayer dollars through the roof. I mean, again, I'm not a capitalist, but also I'm not into just throwing money, your money away either, at all. Okay. Last one. Ronald McDonald House site to relocate all tenants over 5 who aren't vaccinated. Just to be clear, Ronald McDonald House is a place nearby a hospital for families of immunocompromised children to stay close to their kids. Those who are unvaccinated will be given accommodations in another facility, not in a common area. If you would be around a bunch of immunocompromised kids and their families without taking every possible precaution, I'd both question your morality and tell you that nobody cares what you think. That is what the right-wing bubble is boycotting over. We've got to deal with this cultural insanity. It's cultural insanity. It's cultural insensitivity. It's cultural evil. You name it, that's it. E2247, welcome aboard, my brother. Bruce says, home again. Where were you, Bruce? Did you leave the state again? I remember you got back from the Midwest, if I recall correctly, but I don't know. All right, what else we got here? Melanie Keelan. Good evening, everybody. She says, E2247 says, 7 in 10 Republicans already only trust processes that exclude Democratic voters and guarantee that their candidates would win no matter what. That ain't right. It's nuts. And that is what they preach. That is what they teach. Hello, everyone. I have some horrible news and some great news. I'd like to hear both of your news, my brother. Let's hear it. Okay, para ver. Great news first, says Nanette Bird-Smith. Melanie says, May, do tell. Maywood says, last week, one of the guys here in the house fell down and eventually went to the hospital. Is he all right? Melanie asks. Michael Rudden says, is he all right? Melanie Keelan, okay, go free enterprise, according to Melanie Keelan. Maywood says, a couple of days later, he called and informed us that he had tested positive for COVID. I think I know what the good news is now. Nanette Bird-Smith, let's see, Maywood says, I tested yesterday and it came back, and in all caps, Maywood says it came back negative. Maywood, good for you. You keep on taking those precautions to try to stay away from getting this disease. Very important. Ohio Supreme Court, according to E2247, strikes down state legislative districts as partisan gerrymandering in Ohio. That's great news. Ohio is one of those states that it's close to 50-50, about 50% Republicans, 50% Democrats, and somehow the Republicans get something like 60 or 70% of the representatives in Congress. That's not democracy at all. There's a great article written today by Tom Hartman. I was going to talk about it today, but since I mentioned he was going to talk about it on his show, how would it look if I talk about Tom's article on my show on the same day Tom is talking about his own article on his show? But I always like to give my brother kudos because he's one of the best progressive, not only podcasters, but broadcasters out there. We all know that. Bruce says, on the evening of January 17th, the large 1-mile rock from space will make a nice pass in the south, highest 8 p.m. and magnitude 9 to 10, moving at speed of 1.3 something per minute. I don't know what that something is. In just 3 hours, the rock tracked 4 as it moved out of Formax to Eridanus. The moon is full, but 84 from the rock's 84 degrees from the rock's direction or location. So I imagine that means you can see the rock likely. That's, I'm not an astronomer. That's beyond my pay grade. Let's see. Nanette, I think that was a response. Eric says, why does the Biden administration point out differences in the COVID-related deaths? Did this suddenly just change, or is it because the numbers keep getting worse and now needs to be pointed out for policy decisions? No. What we're trying to do is reduce the amount of people dying from the disease. What we do is we categorize those who died from the disease. Those who are unvaccinated are dying more than 10 times the rate of those who are vaccinated or something of that nature. Or going hospitalized 10 times more. I think it is 20 times more when it comes to deaths. Okay, I think that's an important thing that he should be putting out there. And why should he be putting out there? Because he wants to ensure that more people don't die. Hey, I got the picture from Fleming in. I want to make sure that Fleming is on before I put his picture live. So let's go ahead and wait till Fleming there. And anybody sees Fleming online, say, hey, Fleming, get over to Politics Done Right. They have the picture of you with your latest cup there. So keeping down with my messages, we have para ver, excuse for more. I'm still with Eric Hayes. Eric Hayes says, people pointed out this in 2020, but this wasn't supported by the media. Why? Because of the timing of the election. I don't know what you're talking about. What did they point out? Come on, what did they point out? I think we've been all right for this entire time, Senor Eric, all the time. Ashley Willies is in the house. Ashley says, given the choice between partly being parity with black people by inviting the into unified unions and poverty, white workers chose poverty. That is from the 1619 Project, the chapter on capitalism. That book has left an indelible impression on my daughter when she sees some of our own history. People say, well, Egberto, that's not your history. You're from Panama. I didn't get to the Americas on a pleasure ship. I can guarantee you that. None of us, except those Africans who came over after liberation, can say that they got here any other ways. I can chart where, well, I can't chart really, but see where things are. So what my daughter read that was pretty much shocking to her was that, in fact, a lot of poor whites in the different parts of this country, rather than uniting with those in their same socioeconomic condition that would have made them a strong asset to the plutocracy, chose poverty. Now, one has to ask, is that indelible, or is that something that will remain in that psyche, or is it something we can break? My contention, given my humanity, given what I believe in people, that communication is everything, I think we move beyond that. Because what you have to teach first is you have to teach people to fear somebody. And after you teach them to fear that other person, you have to teach them that to hate them. But then you have to create a reason to fear and hate them. And the reason you fear and hate them is you feel them also beneath you. And one of the things that give a poor person that isn't of color a sense, and by the way, I talk to a lot of people, and everybody, they fess up things to me. They tell me things because they know that all I'm seeking really is truth, right? And they said a lot of the belief system is, at least I am not them. And if I can say at least I'm not them, I can tolerate my own condition better, so it doesn't force me to work that extra effort to move up to seek equity. Politics Done Right and other programs, we're trying to show that, brothers and sisters, we are all the same together into the game, and we have got to beat that indoctrination that fools us into believing otherwise. Okay, you gerrymandering with COVID numbers is all. No, Eric, stop it. I don't gerrymander anything. I only speak the truth, facts, and numbers. The few times that I make mistakes, I have very smart people in this room that never make me get away with it. A lot of good people in this room. They never let me get away with lies. But you, Mr. Hayes, my brother, my friend, you have to change your sources of information and your methods of thinking for you, not my good, for your good, for the good of your family and the good of your friends and the good of the people that you're around. Melanie Keelan says, hi, Ashley. All right, let's see. That's a conversation between Eric and Washington Examiner. Is this? We know what the Washington Examiner is. Thank you for pointing that out again, EE2247. Bruce Pollard says she needs to read 1620 Answers, put it into perspective. Replying to Bruce Pollard, pardon, what 1620 Answers? I don't know what it is either, man. Bruce, you're going to have to, when you put stuff like that on the board, Bruce, you got to tell us what you're talking about, brother. All right. Let's see. Ashley says, don't let them make out of you what a boss said to his worker so that they work harder. Yeah, don't let them make the N-word out of you, what the boss said to workers so that they work harder. Imagine that. You see that psychology there. Michael Rudden says, I would prefer shorter spit line redistricting enforced at the federal level. It would not be gerrymandering permanently. Right. 1628 is a book by Peter Wood, an anthropologist who felt the 1619 has points but could have been better documented. I mean, Bruce, I hear you about the 1620 thing, right? But I really take, I haven't read it, so this is going to be a critique just based on experience, Bruce. So I could be wrong here, but I'm going to give the critique. And since you have read it, so that you can then take my perspective of what I think people who criticize the 1619 project and projects like that are generally doing. Many take aback when history against those who originally wrote the history is pointed out succinctly and they try to poke holes in it. But it is important for us when we see these things to understand what's going on here. Many times it is a matter of trying to, in fact, he said the book was really right, but should have been documented better. Documented how? Whose documentation? Should we use the documentation that makes the enslaver seem a bit more passionate? Should we use the documentation from the storytelling that comes down the chain? Should we use the documentation that shows that gives empirical evidence from those who have traveled to Africa and the Africans who sold other Africans? Again, I always take with a grain of salt those people who would critique, let's say, a 1619 project, but won't critique a history book that we are forced to tell our children. Cody Pogue, wow, did a great piece. And I'm veering off the subject right now. But Cody Pogue, a good friend of mine, a professor here in town, did a great piece. And now that you brought that up, I'm going to see if I can find. In fact, what I'm going to do, Bruce, because you opened the door, Bruce, I want to see if I can find Cody Pogue's TikTok. Because I think I downloaded that TikTok. And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play our first video. And as I play our first video, I'm going to go look for Cody Pogue. Why should Manchin go ahead immediately and change the filibuster? Let's go ahead and show that, and then I'll move on to see if I can find the other video. Okay, that should have gone. Where are you? Come on. Claire McCaskill, she is not a bastion of liberalism or progressiveness or even, whatever. But she has a question that I think Joe Manchin needs to answer. I mean, he's still talking through all sides of his mouth about whether he's going to at least modify the filibuster to ensure that everybody has the right to vote. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Claire McCaskill, who was known as a moderate, sort of summed up the majority leader's sentiments earlier. Let's listen to how she put it.
How can it be fair that Republican legislatures all over the country are trying to suppress voters with a simple majority, but yet the Congress is not allowed to address those suppression efforts with the same simple majority? That's a pretty easy argument to make and, frankly, for everyone to understand. So hopefully, by putting pressure on Joe and Kirsten, they do the right thing and we can get a carve out for the filibuster.
If only I could explain the supply chain as well as she just explained what we're facing here with the filibuster. But how likely is that simple, straightforward argument that she is making to succeed?
Well, the filibuster is a rule. It's not a law. The Senate has the ability to change it. They demonstrated that just a month or so ago when they changed the rule in the Senate to allow for a vote on the debt limit. So it can be changed. And I think it is imperative for Democrats to do it because it's a moral imperative, first of all, to ensure voting rights for all Americans. But it's also a political imperative. Not only will senators and representatives face an election in which Republicans across state legislatures have gone aggressively, changed the rules for voting, changed the systems and the structures for voting to suppress the vote. And they've done it so that Republicans can win and Democrats can lose. And so Democrats need to make sure that there is guaranteed fairness in the system. I think it's possible for them to do that. It is a rule. It is not a law. It is easy for the Senate to change.
We spend a lot of time. It is absolutely easy for the Senate to change, and they should change it. The fact that we are having problems trying to get these people to do the right thing, it baffles the mind. Changing, if we're talking voting rights, it should not, it never used to be a 50-50 proposition, a 51-50 proposition. Everybody once supported voting rights. But now we are in a position, as the article in the New York Times yesterday that I discussed spoke about, there is a systematic coup that is occurring. And right now, as it is, Sinema and Joe Manchin are aiding and abetting the coup being effected by the Republican Party on the American system because they do not have the policies that garner not even 60% of the American people's vote. So, Joe Manchin, are you listening? Okay, Joe Manchin, are you listening? Okay, here it is. I found it on his TikTok page. I hope I can get this played because I want you to listen to Cody. This is Brother Bruce, I want you to tell me what you think about this offline as well. Here is what Cody, let me go ahead and I need to make sure and cue that guy correctly and I hope that I have it configured. I'm doing this on the fly, guys. This wasn't prepared, but Bruce gave me, like I said, when you guys bring up subjects that I think is apropos to moving us forward and understanding things better, I think it's best. I want to show you this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Part of it. I hope it works. Let's see if it works.
So I teach history at the college level in Texas, and I'm teaching a freshman level introduction to history class, an honors class. And just for fun today, I asked the students, I was like, list 10 white men from U.S. history. And immediately they got 10. They were like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. They named 10. So I was like, okay, name 10 women from U.S. history. And they were like Jackie Kennedy, Eleanor Roosevelt, Michelle Obama. And I was like, all right, you got 3 presidents' wives. Name other women. And they were like Rosa Parks. And that was all they got. They got 4. I was like, all right, name 10 non-white people who are. So I teach. For me, Texas Governor Greg Abbott recently. Back in late October, State Representative Matt. Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Let me fix that, guys. I'm trying to get it right there, so forgive me, but I wanted you guys to see Cody in his own right. So okay, there we go.
List 10 white men from U.S. history. And immediately they got 10. They were like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. They named 10. So I was like, okay, name 10 women from U.S. history. And they were like Jackie Kennedy, Eleanor Roosevelt, Michelle Obama. And I was like, all right, you got 3 presidents' wives. Name other women. And they were like Rosa Parks. And that was all they got. They got 4. I was like, all right, name 10 non-white people who are from U.S. history. And they were like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. And that was all that they had, was those 3. And this was mostly Hispanic students. So I was like, list 10 Hispanic people from U.S. history. And they were like, who was that guy that we beat at the Alamo? And I was like, Santa Anna. And they were like, yeah, him. And Pancho Villa. And those were the only 2 they had. And I was like, did you learn about those being good guys or those being bad guys? And they were like, those were the bad guys. And I was like, can you name any Hispanic people who were good guys? And they didn't have any. So I was like, can you name 10 people who were handicapped? And they had Stephen Hawking, and that was all that they had. They could have came up with Franklin Roosevelt. But I was like, can you name any white people who were bad guys? And they didn't have any white people who were bad guys. And in Texas right now, there's this idea that the teachers are teaching critical race theory. I don't even know what critical race theory is, but that's the accusation. And the Texas government is trying to crack down on that at the K through 12 level, trying to limit our teaching of race. But as it already stands, all my students are coming to me knowing is about white people being good guys, Hispanics being bad guys, and 3 non-white people, and that's about it. A few women who married people who were presidents, and that's like all that they're learning, and they want to limit that even more. In his book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire, who was Brazilian, he wasn't even writing from America, he says that in most education systems, they teach the oppressors to be proud of who they are. And they teach the oppressed that they don't have value, that they shouldn't be proud. And I feel like that's what's happening in the education system already, and they're wanting to change it even more to be more in that direction. And it's disheartening, and I don't know how we fix this. So
all right, Cody. Cody is a professor at San Jacinto College. Cody is an active I don't want to call it he participated in several of the activism actions that we had throughout Harris County and several other parts of Texas. He's a very well read young man, and in fact, I use him to get a whole lot of advice many times because he knows history that well. I think what he had to say is very important. You know, when my daughter was going to school, I used to ask her something similarly. I said, suppose there are indigenous people sitting in your class and your teacher starts to teach and your teacher says, Christopher Columbus discovered America. And then your indigenous girl in your class is going to say, so who the hell am I? Chop meat? Now, when Bruce said something that I want to say, he said, things are certain, you know, things always end up somewhere in the middle. And that is where I think many a times we have to differ. Because the middle is a compromise that says, I do maximal evil and you do none. And well, we will somewhere meet in the middle. And what that says then is the person who effected evil gets a piece of what he wants. The person who wants goodness gets none of what he wants. Let's use that again for Build Back Better and the infrastructure project, right? Those who were gung-ho for the infrastructure project, we said, for Build Back Better, we said we got to hold it to something they really want so we can pass Build Back Better, because compromising on Build Back Better is actually going to the lowest common denominator. It's not meeting in the middle. It's going to the most common denominator. And the most common denominator means the person on the right, on the left side of the denominator always loses because they get none of what they want. Because the person on the right gets absolutely everything that they want. Because we take a look at things like the social safety net. Most of the people who take advantage of the social safety net are Republicans. Most of the states that get the most money from the federal government are Republicans. So they get rewarded from not voting for things that their people need. And at the same time, we get penalized for giving them the things that make their lives better. It is distorted. It is horrendous messaging by many Democrats, not by, actually by choice, because that is how they keep what Bruce just spoke about. That's how you keep the middle. Because if we ever let the middle fall, America is no longer a country that believes in an economic system that by design takes away from most. So that is what I'm trying to say, where, whenever I hear somebody say, let's go to the middle sounds good. It really, really sounds good. But understand what it really means. Going to the middle means those at the bottom always get screwed. And if you doubt it, Build Back Better was going to give a helping hand to those at the bottom. Build Back Better was going to give a helping hand to those in the middle. Those people who, the guy that I brought on an interview who won the $10,000 and for writing a paper, and he said, I'm using that $10,000 to pay for my kids' daycare. Wow, he's using his $10,000 winning to do something all of us have to do. And what about those people who haven't won that? So I beg all my folks that always talk about tagging to the middle to understand that tagging to the middle for a lot of people means complete and entire loss. I know it's hard for you to see when you are in an otherwise position. It was hard for me to see, right? But when I finally figured it out, I was like, oh my God, we've been doing this to people for so long. All right, Eric Hayes, let's go back. Joe and Kernston are doing what they feel is right, and they don't agree with villainize textbooks away Dems treat others. I don't even know what to answer that. Deb Denny says they need to go back to talking filibuster with the caveat that they only talk about. I don't even think we need a filibuster. Why? Why do we want democracy? Already those senators that represent the right, they're so much less than the people. Now we want not a super majority, but an extraordinarily super majority if we have to get 67 votes. So yeah. Anyway, let's see. Maywood says corporate, certainly. So having a corporate bias, yes, but that kind of makes them a little conservative, true? All right. Michael Redden says history, his story. So what's being taught is primarily about great white men and nobody else. Well, I mean, if you take a look at what Cody has been saying, he's been trying to put that up. Oh, guys, Charlie Lindahl wants to let everybody in the Harris County area or Harris County, all the surrounding counties, that Texas A&M is giving free COVID-19 tests to students, faculty, staff, and I imagine others too. Charlie, let us know. All right. Nanette Birdsmith, Eric Hayes, and Charlie Lindahl, and I heard a report that Dallas Community College are doing the same thing. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Michael says, must have missed the comment. Is Eric Hayes talking about Antifa? Who knows what Eric is talking about? Sometimes my brother concerns me. Masticator, the racism displayed on this show turns my stomach. I don't know what did I say that was racist. I would love you to specify in detail what did Egberto Willis say that was racist, and if the team, if you guys think it's racist, hey, I have no problems apologizing if I offend people for saying something that's wrong. I will do it in front of everybody. I'll beg your forgiveness. Please tell me specifically where I said something that was racist. And if you prove that, I will apologize. Okay, Masticator, name 10 prominent women in his... Wow, you're doing a Cody test right there, AVQ. Deb Dennett, Egberto Willis' audio is muffled. I couldn't help, my audio is muffled or the one from the video? I think my audio is good now, so correct me if I'm wrong. All right, let's see. AVQ says, subpoena to follow, trust. Okay, Masticator says, name 10 prominent women in history. No, that was AVQ. Bruce says, so you are blaming the middle. No, it's not blaming. There is no, what I'm saying, Bruce, is that there isn't a middle. The middle, just like I always talk about the market being a figment of one's imagination, right? Because when they say let the market solve the problem, the market is not going to solve a cancer problem because the market doesn't have a heart. The market, meaning the capital market, actually thinks of sickness as yet another cost center of making money. When I say that there is no middle, you're a scientist and you know numbers, Bruce. You know numbers, so I'll just put it in the numbers form. If I tell you that to solve a problem, I need $2 billion. We need to solve the problem, we need $2 billion. And you tell me you're in the middle. All you want is $1 billion. And so therefore, we can't solve all those problems. And the people who need that money, however, are the people of, the people, right, that really needs it. This $2 billion wasn't coming to me or you or to any other person. It was going to the people who needed it. So the middle, by saying, I don't want to provide something that we already have, they are saying, we will decide to hurt some. So in that case, the numbers alone are absolute. If $2 billion was going to go into childcare and all these other policies, and you tell me I can only do half of that, even though those are things that are needed, you're asking, is the middle to be blamed then? Yes. Who else is to be blamed? So in that respect, absolutely. And this is not, this is not a right or left. This is a human thing. And that is what, when Joe Manchin come and say, I'm fixed at $1.7 billion or I am fixed at $1.8 billion. That's what they say, right? That just shows that they have no heart. That just shows that they're completely ill-advised. You don't ask you don't say what my bottom line is. You ask, what is it that is needed? And then you tax appropriately. Then you bill appropriately. When you are ill, you don't say, let me see if I can afford to take out only 50% of the cancer. You don't. And that's my point. And, we have learned to forget about those things and using the middle as an excuse. Oh, we're compromising on the middle. Yeah, look, I compromise because I have to. I would take the $1.7 billion over the $3 trillion any day because I am saying I'm moving incrementally. But understand that those people who dropped it from $3.4 billion to $1.7 billion are evil. If you know that that means other kids are going to be starved, if you know that that means people are going to be sick, if you know all those things and you say, my top line is $1.7 billion, what else can I call you? And that is right down the middle. Who else is to be blamed in my humble opinion? Okay, Peggy says, hi all. Deb says, because all they have now to show us the vote, stop progress, and blockade everything. They appear no longer attendance policies. Okay, Bruce says, it's hard to take the left, but I'm committed to the middle. I don't know what you mean. What do you mean by the left? When you say it's hard to take the left, explain to me, my brother, what do you mean by it's hard to take the left? That is where I talk about the influence of narrative. I am the left. I am the left. And why am I the left? Because I'm not the right. And what is the middle? I'll take some of the left and I'll take some of the right. Okay? I take whatever of the right that will make life better for people. But on the left side, I don't get, look, when it comes to, what a lot of people like to conflate are things like, oh, the left don't want to hear other people talk. Hey, I agree with that. When Berkeley shut down and said, we won't allow those right-wing crazies to come on campus to speak, I was completely against it. I wrote a blog about it. I want all those, the same way we did in the past. I want everybody's voice to be heard. I'm not going to agree with everybody's voice. I'm going to tackle, and I'm not going to appease anybody either. I want everybody to have equal access to success. But those others, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Let's see. Bruce says he's standing in the middle. We're going to have to talk, Bruce. We definitely have to talk. Because I don't think you and I have the same definition of middle. I don't think we have the same definition of middle. I know you too well to know that your definition of middle, unless somehow some narrative on the right started to cauterize on you, there's no way I believe when you say I stand in the middle. All right, let's say, okay, Michael has a good question. Bruce, what does the left want? A government and society that prioritizes the needs of the people and the planet. You sure can't get on board with that. Rudnin, Bruce is a personal friend of mine. He supports that statement that you just made. That's why I'm saying I have no doubt that he supports that statement that you've just made there. Absolutely so. But again, what we have is narrative making that tries to make caricature what the left means. You take the batshit crazy lefties and you tag all the left with it, as opposed to taking the batshit crazy rightist and tagging. That's what we're talking about. All right, let's continue. Bruce says, I want those things too. The problem I have are that left and right are arguing. Those arguers are all rich guys. I am not rich. I'm poor. I am not rich. I have given up my company, all that good stuff, brother. No. Those are the ones who get mainstream media. That's why you guys need to support Politics Done Right and other mediums like this. Because that is not what we stand for. But you're right about that. A lot of those guys on the left are rich. Remember what I said yesterday about, and I don't know if you were here yesterday, Bruce, I was talking about, in this case, racism. When somebody came on and said, oh, Republicans are racist, and I said, Republicans are no more racist than Democrats are. And I gave the explanation. Well, I did a whole piece on that. In fact, I did a video on it, and I have a blog that's going to go with the corresponding video. I'm honest. Very, very honest. All right, Bruce, I argue with the right all the time. I am nowhere near rich. Okay, let's see what else. Paul Fleming. Hey, guys, Paul Fleming bought our cup. Check it out. I want everybody. He's now the star of the show. Paul, how you doing, buddy? There is Paul showing the cup that he bought. And since I'm showing on the screen Paul with the cup that he bought, I think it's best that I go ahead and say, hey, guys, why don't you support Politics Done Right now? Let's see. Let's go ahead and get me all my links here. Please, if you are on YouTube, click that join button. Please become a member of the PDR Posse by clicking the join button. If you don't see that join button, or if you're on YouTube, or rather if you are on Facebook Live, or you're on Twitter or whatever, you can go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube to support us there. You can also go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. The best form, what we like is also, because they charge the least amount in service fees, of course, is paypal.com, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can get all our books, and my books explain these things a little bit better. I honestly want to have a conversation with Bruce, because I hear a narrative change that concerns me, not only with Bruce, but when people talk about who's going to win the Congress. There are certain things there are certain psychological games that are being played that are pretty effective. I need to talk to a few more people. Here we go. politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. You can get our hoodie and all that good stuff at our politicsdoneright.com/store, politicsdoneright.com/store. All right, let's continue. I think, we have all kinds of cups. We have the Black Lives Matter cups. We have the cup that has the squad on it. We have the cup that is just the Politics Done Right cup. We have the cup that's designed by Bridge MCP, one of our PDR Posse members. And if you want to design a cup that has the Politics Done Right logo on it, design it, send it to me, and we'll go ahead and get it printed, my friend. But anyhow, let me continue with the questioning right now. Thank you very much for contributing to Politics Done Right by getting that cup, Senator Fleming. Let me go ahead and before I go though, I want to get a link to those cups so that I can, for people who want to see the different cups that we have, specifically the one from Bridge MCP, the one designed by Bridge MCP. I want you guys to consider getting Bridge MCP's cup. I think this is it here. Here is Bridge MCP's cup, right there. All right, let me continue with the question and answers that we have coming. The videos I'll do tomorrow. I just love talking to you, and Bruce started it. Hey, Bruce, it's your fault, man. It's your fault for coming and saying, so you're blaming the middle. It's your fault, Bruce. Come on, brother. All right, let's continue the conversation. Bruce, can you take a look at this meme? Let me know if there's even a single step you stand against. If there is not, maybe you should give the left a second chance. I'll put that on the screen for Brother Bruce to see right now. That's what I love about our community here. We are, in fact, a community. Bruce, there is the link. Let's see what it says. End wars, immigration reform, net neutrality, close private prisons, fair trade and unions, gun safety, criminal justice system, end the war on drugs, Wall Street reform, tax corporations, Green New Deal, racial justice, free university, public health care, women's rights, corporate money out of politics. I wish one thing of that. I agree with all of those. I wish they wouldn't say free university, but instead call it pay it forward university. Because those people that get educated, we provide, well, I better correct that. They will pay it forward in later on. But the reason why I stopped myself from saying things is I don't want a university education that gives a profession isn't necessarily the highest paid profession, nor is it the necessary form. We need them all. So just wanted to put that in there. But that was a good one. I love that one, Radnin. I'm sure Bruce is going to answer that for you shortly. Post links for support. Yes, I just did that, Deb Denny. Thank you so kindly for reminding me. Bruce says, I want those things too. The problem I have are that left and right are arguing. Those arguers, well, you said that already. Let's see what else I got here. Let's see what I got here. Any more before I go see? Peggy Lopez says, I do not want the death cult insiders to have access to free speech when their words cause death to others. I want them in a classroom environment, Peggy. I want them to have the ability to be put down. In other words, their message is going to get out no matter what. I rather it get out. One of the reasons I don't throw anybody off my show is when Masticator says something that is completely wrong, I want to correct it. And when people see, several thousand people are going to see these videos later on. And Masticator would have been corrected, which is what we want. Right? So Tom C says the middle keeps shifting further and further to the right every year. Eisenhower and even Nixon and the Bushes would be considered to be liberals today. That is such a truity right there. If you take a look at their policies, that is exactly right, Brother Tom C. Let's see what else. Masticator says, would you like multiple links to articles about Parler censoring speech? I don't think Parler is supposed to be the right-wing thing, isn't it? That's what I thought. I actually have an account at Parler. Never used it, but you know. Let's see what else we got here. Quinnipiac University poll, politically instability, not U.S. adversaries, seen a bigger threat in nearly 6 of 10. Yeah, I saw that today. In fact, I got the link today from directly from the Quinnipiac, however you say that word. We could discuss many of these. Let's pick one. Gun safety. You claim that? I think the middle owns that. We could discuss. Actually, that's my point. Okay, Bruce, you just opened the door for a question. You just claimed the middle claim the gun stuff. Okay, I give you that. What of the right? In other words, you claim everything that Rudnin just put out there. What policies of the right do you claim? Klotz Renan. Tell me a policy supported by the right that you claim. And that is the thing that people find the hardest thing. They'll say, okay, do I support taking away the rights of a woman? No. Do I support a whole bunch of tax cuts for a lot of fat cats? No. Do I support a type of a penalizing tax system? No. Do I support laissez-faire capitalism? No. So again, Bruce, everything that I think you support is really the left, but we get co-opted into saying the things that are not very much people-centric on the left, we'll just call it the middle. State rights to set voting regulations. That is constitutional. The state rights to set voting regulations is constitutional as long as it occurs within the Bill of Rights. Remember, and by the way, I'm not a constitutionalist, nor do I want to claim that I know the Constitution perfectly. But what I do know is that the reason we got the Bill of Rights were to make certain rights inalienable. In other words, the majority couldn't take it away, or the state could not take it away. So what you're saying, I agree with, state sets voting regulations, but it has to abide by the Constitution of the United States of America. If you buy into the argument that what the federal government is trying to do right now by regulating what can't be done is saying we can't have Jim Crow again. We can't make it that people have a harder time voting. Is that saying we're taking away states' control? No, just as the state cannot take away your civil rights, the state cannot take away anybody's civil rights. So I think that that particular statement, Brother Pollard, is in line with leftists as well. I don't think we disagree with that at all. So why do we need a national law? We need a national law because otherwise we go to court. And while we go to court, it would have already been in effect. You see, here's what happens, right? Texas does a whole lot of crap against voting. And after it occurs, we have several election cycles before it goes through the court system. And then when it goes through the court system, by then the election is over. But given that the government has rights to control federal elections, they can go ahead, and the Supreme Court cannot really get involved with those particular portions that the Constitution absolutely get them. Now, we can still get into some of the state rights issues, but please remember, the state right laws are what were used to oppress people who look like me, oppress women, oppress many. And when you were the victim of that, or your off kin or your whatever were victims of that, then immediately you say, you know what, we can't do it. A national law centralizes the system, thus making it easier to, again, that's where you're wrong. And that is a lie that's being placed out there. The voting machines don't change. The county assessor who takes care of your, none of that changes. All we say is simple. You cannot infringe on anybody's right to vote. It's that simple. And what are some of the things? You have to give people enough time to vote. In a system where people have to work 40 to 80 hours a week, you have to make sure that that person's right to vote is not determined by their financial status of having to work long hours. There are all these things, but you have to look at it open-eyed, and you can't look at it from the narrative of the right. I want to be frank here. I try to be kind to everybody. But the policies of the right are intrinsically evil. Intrinsically evil. And that's an absolute statement. If the outcomes of what you promote are evil, then you are evil. And this is not like, oh, I'm going overboard. The laws that have just passed in Texas that prevents a woman from having the control of her own body, right? That affects her for the duration of her life. That affects her personal economy going forward. That's evil. That's another form of enslavement. I control your body. So please, let me tell you what's very good and what's very poor on the Democratic side, and it's actually willful on the Democratic side. The Democrats right now, Bruce, are exactly what you talk about, the middle. They need to hold the middle. And the reason they need to hold the middle is that the right and the middle hold so many people back from access to success. But if at any time, no, people who believe in state rights are not evil. No. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying people who believe in state rights for the purpose of curtailing the rights of their citizens, that is evil. Let's not play the right-wing game. That is what's evil. It's, again, like I said, I'm a progressive speaking like this. I could show you many conservatives who, I don't call them conservatives, they call themselves conservatives, but have the same tenets that I'm talking about right now. The problem is, right now we have an old band of people that want to hold on to a particular status quo. And that status quo is what's so dangerous. So, it's okay for states to override the will of the people? No, that's what they are making bills to be able to do, which is what they did, exactly. Bruce, those who claim they support state rights usually stand against marijuana legalization. There's quite a bit of hypocrisy. They prevent marijuana legalization until they can make a profit, like Speaker Boehner, right? Speaker Boehner now is a shareholder in a marijuana company. Oh my God, but he opposed marijuana legislation all this time. We are always been played. Always been played. But look, we're coming close to the end of the show. And I can't believe I went through an entire show again without playing but one video. You guys must be powerful conversation. Hey Bruce, thank you for being the firebrand for the conversation today. We need to sit down and have about a 3 or 4 hour conversation over some coffee. I'm in DC, so we may have to have virtual coffee. We'll just have to have virtual coffee. So you set the date and we'll have some virtual coffee. No, we'll have real coffee, but we'll meet virtually. Because I hear a change in narrative. I'd love to see how it came about. I would really love to see how it came about. I can't point at you and say you said that now. I know why people are frustrated by you. You can make arguments and tune them. Huh? I can't point at you and say you said that. Now I know why people are frustrated by you. You can make arguments and tune them. Do you mean me or do you mean somebody else? Anyhow. So, let's have a chat. Give me a shout. Anyhow, folks, we are at the end of the program. I want to go ahead and bear with me 1 second. Please, folks, support Politics Done Right. The all-in-one support link, that's all I have time to say right now, is at politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. Maywood says, only if you, okay, I'll leave that one alone. Our huge geopolitical headache is 76%. Think political instability is U.S. is bigger danger to it, when 19% think other nations are bigger danger, thus destabilizing U.S. relationship and them. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. Thank you so kindly for being here with me. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.